You're listening to Immigration Judge Denies Kilmar Abrego Garcia's request to reopen case, a news story written by Maria Sacchetti and read by an AI-generated voice. A U.S. immigration judge rejected Kilmar Abrego Garcia's request to reopen his deportation case on Wednesday, dismissing the Maryland man's argument that he faced imminent removal to Uganda, despite the Trump administration's repeated threats to send him to the African nation. Immigration Judge Philip P. Taylor found insufficient evidence to show that the Trump administration would send Abrego to Uganda, according to a copy of the decision reviewed by the Washington Post. The administrative immigration courts fall under the Justice Department and are not part of the traditional federal courts. Lawyers for Abrego had filed an emergency motion in August, asking the immigration court in Baltimore to reconsider his deportation, in part because government attorneys and federal officials said he faced removal to Uganda within days. On August 25th, the Department of Homeland Security said of Abrego in a social media post, "He will be processed for removal to Uganda." In his ruling, Taylor wrote that Abrego has not submitted evidence to show that the department has presented him with a formal notice of removal or any other document showing its intent to remove him to Uganda. He said a government lawyer said it may remove him to Uganda, and not necessarily that it would. Officials have also said they could remove him to Eswatini or Costa Rica. The judge's decision is a major step in the complex legal battle that followed Abrego's illegal deportation to his native El Salvador in March, and it forecloses his ability, for now, to apply for permanent legal residency via the immigration courts. However, he is still seeking release in federal court in Maryland, and a hearing in that case has been scheduled for Monday. The 30-year-old sheet metal worker is married to a U.S. citizen in Maryland and lived there for years with their 3 children. Abrego has 30 days to appeal to the Board of Immigration Appeals, or the ruling will become final. It could later be appealed to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit. The Justice Department did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Abrego's lawyers also did not respond to requests for comment. Department of Homeland Security spokeswoman Tricia McLaughlin emphasized in an email that Abrego remains eligible for deportation and that he will never be loose on American streets. His lawyers tried to fight his removal from the U.S., but one thing is certain: this Salvadoran man is not going to be able to remain in our country, she said in a statement. The Supreme Court ruled in April that the Trump administration had illegally deported Abrego to a Salvadoran megaprison, with hundreds of others, in violation of a 2019 immigration court order barring his removal to that country because gangs had threatened his life. The High Court ordered officials to facilitate his return, but the Trump administration stonewalled and brought him back in June, only after securing an indictment against him in Tennessee for human smuggling. Abrego has pleaded not guilty and was ordered released on bond. However, immigration officers rearrested him soon afterward for deportation proceedings. The Department of Homeland Security and prosecutors in Abrego's criminal case allege he is an MS-13 gang member and human smuggler who illegally transported thousands of undocumented workers across the United States. Abrego's lawyers, however, say his criminal prosecution is vindictive and selective, and have accused officials of pursuing the case to punish him for challenging his illegal deportation. Abrego's lawyers also have asserted that the government threatened to send him to Uganda to coerce him into pleading guilty in the smuggling case and accept deportation to Costa Rica, a Spanish-speaking country that is considered the safest in Central America. Taylor, who was appointed under the first Trump administration, is a regional deputy chief immigration judge and part of the court's leadership team. Immigration judges are appointed by the Attorney General. Trump officials have faced criticism for attacking judicial independence by firing dozens of judges, dismissing cases, and seeking to broadly deny bond hearings to undocumented immigrants. Trump officials are also increasingly sending some immigrants to alternate countries if they cannot deport them to their homeland, including Eswatini, Ghana, Costa Rica, and South Sudan, a nation that has been on the brink of civil war. Abrego's lawyers had sought to reopen his 2019 deportation case on a variety of grounds, arguing he should be newly allowed to seek asylum from El Salvador after he was detained and tortured there in the mega prison. They also argued that he should be allowed to apply for legal residency through his U.S. citizen wife and their children, including a disabled autistic son who, under federal law, could face hardship without him. But Taylor said the evidence was unpersuasive. He said Abrego's criminal case could make him ineligible for legal residency through his family, though Abrego has not been convicted and has no other criminal history. And he said Abrego missed the one-year deadline to apply for asylum after he initially arrived in the United States as a teenager, and did not merit an exception to try again based on changed conditions in his home country. Abrego had argued that he was tortured in El Salvador after administration officials deported him in shackles. Salvadorans shaved his head, beat him with batons, and imprisoned him with members of the gang that had threatened his life. Taylor said he was skeptical, though he acknowledged that the government is still barred from sending him to the Central American country. Overall, the court finds that the likelihood respondent will be tortured by Salvadoran government agents is minimal, Taylor wrote.